Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the program. This is Now You Know, all about getting to know our local business entrepreneurs. My guest today is an author, a businessman, a landlord, a builder, former waiter, casino worker, and it goes. He has a long list, a long resume. He came from humble beginnings, but through hard work, ambition, determination, a few setbacks, which only came for a comeback for him, he succeeded. He was bullied, he was discriminated against, and he took countless risks, but his determination prevailed. Calvin Gramey Browne is joining me today to talk about his journey in his first book called Learning the Business of Life. Now, we've spoken, I've done a program with him concerning giving dating advice to his daughter, but today we're going to get to know how he grew up and what kind of child was he and how he got to where he is today. Calvin, good to have you back.
Thank you, Valerie. Nice introduction. Love it.
Hey, you know how it is, right? Anyway, talk to us. Growing up in Statia.
Yes, Statia.
As a child. You were born in St. Kitts, though.
Yes, I was born in St. Kitts, and I was there till about 7 years old. I remember doing second grade. I think I kind of went over to third grade. But then my mom, she got married to a gentleman from Statia, George Monteiro Cotara.
Okay.
And then, so we moved there.
Okay.
And so then I started, when I started in Statia, they set me back a grade. So I didn't like that too much.
Yeah.
But it made it easier because the work were kind of similar.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, for that 1 year, I was a straight A student.
Okay. Okay. The following year, and those years.
No, the other years, no.
You were the best student in the world.
No.
Okay, and why not? You didn't like to study?
I fell in love with certain subjects, and the subjects I loved, I did well in.
in.
Yeah, I was like a B, you know.
Yeah.
Math, geography, history. Those were like my three top.
Okay. What were your poorest?
My poorest was spelling.
Really?
And behavior. I talk too much. And I just didn't get the whole silent
learning
letters and
Yeah.
that down pat.
Yeah.
So I always struggled with that. But I was a BC student. A was only math and history. I would get like a 9 in.
Yeah.
Geography too. Those three. Everything else was like B. And then when it comes to the science and stuff, it was like more C.
How are you with languages?
Dutch was, BC average.
Okay.
From 4th grade, you had to speak Dutch in the classroom.
Right.
On the playground, we just went back to Statia English, basically. So.
Talk to me about Statia English. Talk to me about Statia English.
I think I lost a lot of it. I was there recently, and with some friends, certain words kind of come back in the lingo. Talking with Jeffro or some of my other friends, I could hear it,
Yeah.
and I'm like, yeah, that's it. I don't use it as much as I use my Samartan English because I think I'm so much more around the Samartan English. Yeah.
So tell me, what's the difference between Statia English and Samartan English?
Oh, it's different. Statia, a couple of words. Samartan would say love. Statia would say thou. Is L-O-W, and they don't pronounce the V's.
No. Okay.
Statia people don't pronounce a lot of words that ends with V's.
Oh, okay.
What's another word? There is some, are you? Like some man say, are you?
Are you, yeah.
Statia people say, boy.
Okay.
So let me see another one. There's a few you can't
okay,
but being there, I hear them, and I'm like, I don't talk like that anymore.
Right, that's the thing.
Because Samantha just kind of took over.
I know. When my son was partially raised here, and he speaks like an American,
Okay.
But as soon as a Caribbean person
Person
comes,
come-
he
yes,
goes right
yes.
back into that St. Martin English.
Yeah.
That's St. Martin, St. Martin
St.
English.
Martin, because I got a lot of the French Quarter
Yeah.
and then the Dutch Quarter, because I started off when I moved here, I was in South Ward, then I went to Dutch Quarter, then I went to French Quarter. And I have all of them, it's just a matter of who we're talking to.
Yeah.
You see, like now I just switched.
Yeah.
But yeah, being in the tourism industry, I also learned more of the American English.
Right.
And then I kind of like, depending on who I'm speaking with, I kind of move around. It's almost like I equate it to Arubians. They speak Dutch, English, and Papiamento all in the same sentence. And that's how I distinguish the Curacao from the Arubian.
Oh, okay.
Curacao is either English, they're broken English,
Right.
or Papiamento.
They don't mix it.
And they don't mix it. Arubian put all three in the same
Maybe
sentence.
that's where we got it from, because we do it here. We used to do it here.
Yeah.
I don't think we do it anymore, but
No,
we
you
used
st-
to.
if you're from Aruba, you still do it. You can't. It's seamless. You don't even.
Realize that you're
Yeah,
doing
you
it, right?
realize it, yeah.
Okay, so at what age, talk to us about growing up on Station.
Station was like a really small town, more of a village, and everyone knew everyone. If your mom and the other mom didn't speak, when you passed that person, you still had to say good morning, good
Thank you,
afternoon,
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
a thing. Yeah, there's a lot of fun things, like you grow up, like if someone came by your mom and say, Emmeline, can I borrow your rake, a shovel, a heavy broom?
Yeah.
She said, no, I don't have one. He's like, Mommy, we got the...
Then
Like
you
that
bust
was
her,
a
right?
no. Yeah,
You a
you-
buster. Well,
you-
mommy, we got one.
But the funny thing is, you got a slap right there and then,
Yeah.
and the other person
Don't
still didn't
contradict
get
me.
whatever it was they come to borrow because she didn't have one. So like everyone knew this and nobody said.
Did your mother ever tell you that when somebody came by her that she wasn't home? Then you would go and say, my mother said she ain't home.
Yes. And then there was the one, children ain't gonna call in big people business.
Yes. Children should be seen and not heard.
No, oh yeah, that was a thing.
Yeah.
And I grew up loving I was hearing all these interesting stories. You couldn't giggle because you had to pretend you didn't hear it because nobody was talking to you.
You were eavesdropping.
So those were some of the, everyone knew everyone, literally. And this was back in the 70s, the late 70s, early 80s. No cell phone. We didn't even have a phone at home. I remember not having TV at home. So you went by the neighbor and watched TV.
Yeah.
We watched wrestling, Hawaii Five-0.
Yeah.
And some families, you didn't go inside of their house to watch their TV either.
Stay on the porch.
You stayed on the porch, or you looked through a window. Like you stood outside, you looked through a window on the TV. And the TV, like it was so normal, they positioned the TV so that everyone could basically see, because that was the only TV like in the 7 or 8 houses, you know what I mean?
Neighborhood.
So yeah, I remember that. And even with no phone, if you did something on the street, by the
Before
time you got home,
your mother knew
your
about
mother
it.
already knew, and like, who told you?
She had no cell phone, but she knew.
Yeah, I remember the outside toilet
Okay.
before we
the
had
outhouse, they call it.
the outhouse before you had the inside one.
Yeah.
The cockroaches, and when you go, you had to hit it first. You had to stick. You had to hit
Make sure,
first.
to make
You had to
sure.
make sure the
They
cockroach
call me
was
Stafford.
Oh my God! You bring it back up.
Hey, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember a trough. So the trough was elevated, and you had to hand pump the water from the system into the trough, and just gravity had it flow. So there was no water pressure in the pipes at all. It just, you wash dishes, not in the sink. So you had a sink, but you still had the two plastic tubs to wash and rinse the dishes, and then you take the water and throw it outside. Why do we have sinks? It was,
Yeah, it was
But
strange.
that's,
It was strange because, there's a sink, you fill up the sink and you use the same water, but...
And then your plates and cups were all those enamel thin,
right.
you know, and,
Right.
and if they're chipped,
Yeah.
you know, you had the enamel one, and the actual wares you couldn't use unless there was guests, like the priest came over, the teacher came over, you know.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
We had, okay, so let's talk about that. You had house clothes, you had school clothes, you had church clothes, and never were they ever to be mixed together, right?
Sleeping clothes, like
pajamas.
Pajamas.
Right.
For me, pajamas was when you in case you go to the hospital.
Really?
Yes. So you had new clothes that was purchased was for church. When
Right.
you get a little old, you went into school.
Right.
After school, you can wear them out on Saturday evenings. You go to the friends. Then you wore them in the yard.
Yes. Yes.
And then you sleep in them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh no, we have pajamas. Okay.
Pajamas was you had 2 pair of pajamas in case you get sick and went to the hospital,
Right.
or you slept over by your friend's house. Because now you had your nice stuff to go with. Shoes were also the same thing.
Talk about the shoes.
So the shoes you get them for church. When they start to wear down, you wear them school. When your feet outgrew them, you cut off the back, and they became slippers.
True.
That's the way it was. Recycling was a thing back then of all of your stuff. And you also I had 2 older brothers. They weren't raised with me, but by the time they came, it was like 13, 14. I got their clothes. It was a hand-me-down system.
That's
you know?
right. That's right. I was the last, so that never happened to me. But
you didn't get all the hand-me-downs?
No, I was the last child, so.
So you got everything new. You were spoiled.
And then the one, my brother, who was a boy. So I
okay, you could do his clothes.
And my sister, older sister, she was much bigger than I was and much older.
Lucky you got all new stuff.
Yeah,
so all my new stuff was only really for church.
Okay.
So as you saw in you know, as I write, when I start to work and start to earn money, the things I wanted was a pair of jeans, my karate shoes, and a pair of sneakers.
Okay.
Like it was late when I got sneakers, because just to go buy a pair of sneakers, it's like my mom just didn't see it that way. You need to start from church. That shoe got to go through the entire cycle. If you buy a pair of sneakers, what are you going to do? You're just going to go school with it.
Exactly.
But that was.
But I wasn't. Yeah. Okay. So, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, but we're still going to go back. But since we're on that topic, what was the one thing that the most expensive thing you ever bought for yourself? What was it? And did you keep it?
I think the most expensive thing would probably be, if it's not the sneakers, it was a pair of jeans.
Okay.
I had a pair. No, my mom didn't buy jeans because you couldn't wear jeans to church.
Right.
So you had these gabardine pants, or she go buy a tailor, and then she make a pants.
Yes.
She get the pants made.
Yes.
So those were the clothes I wore for the most part. And then at one point, the church used to always, they get clothes from overseas or people, hand me down. So I got some of those.
Okay.
So my first pair of jeans I got was actually a stranger hand me down from the church.
Okay.
But
I used to call them dungarees, right?
Yes, and I outgrew it, and it was a bell bottom. And
that was in.
As it was in, but as it went out of style, that's when I got it.
Okay.
So,
it wasn't nice anymore.
And I had a thing I used to do. I used to love that jeans so much. My mother had a cycle of clothing where, again, they're recycling.
Yeah.
When you wore a piece of clothes and it washed, it went in the back. And the new ones came in the front. So you didn't have the same thing
over and over. Yes.
So with pants, and when she hears this, now she's going to know my secret. What I used to do to get out of wearing the next thing in line, especially a bell-bottom pants, I would spoil the zip. Because you couldn't go to school with a spoiled zipper. And then I would go to the next pants. That's what I used to do to get out of wearing them, because I used to get teased a lot.
Well,
because it went out and I still had them.
Right. I have seen, saying that with the zip, I have seen children with a safety pin by the zipper part, huh? And I always wondered, okay, we kind of felt bad for them, but
after a while, I think she figured out there was something wrong, because all my bell-bottom pants zip was spoiled. And so I did have toward the later end a safety pin, because she was like, okay, you're gonna go with it, because she kind of figured you just don't want to wear the pants,
Oh gosh, that's a good story. That is a good story. Okay, so
I should have had all of those in the book.
you can still do it. Brings back memories.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were talking about the clothing.
Yes.
Okay. You said you wanted was a pair of
A pair
sneakers.
of jeans, sneakers and
a
jeans.
pair
Yeah.
of jeans.
So my
Okay.
first big purchase was a polo shirt, a pair of jeans, sneakers, and karate shoes. Remember when the karate shoes came out?
Why the karate shoes?
It was a hit. Like everyone
It
had
was
them.
popular.
Yeah, it was
the
very
thing.
popular.
Okay.
It was yeah. Bruce Lee was the Bruce Lee
fashion.
movies,
Oh,
you know.
okay, okay,
And he
okay.
once that movie came out, I think it was Enter the Dragon or the Fist of something. That was the show, and he sported these karate shoes.
Okay.
You know, and that was a big thing. So and again, my mom was not like, oh, this is a style like that.
Right.
That didn't even make sense to her.
Exactly, yeah.
You know.
That can't carry you very far.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they didn't have thick soles.
No, they didn't. But it was real nice to go to school with.
Okay.
You know, so that's yeah.
Okay, so talk to us about school. I heard you were bullied.
Yes,
And
I
that's
was
one of the
bullied a lot.
reasons why I wanted to do this program, because we have a lot of bullying going on
It's a lot of bullying.
in the schools today, which is not new. I mean,
No.
from the time man was born or
Yeah.
created, it's been bullying. But we need to, because they're taking it to a higher level right now, and it's more dangerous because people are committing suicide,
Yes.
you know, and there's no one to talk to. But talk to us about your first bully.
It wasn't called bullying back then.
Okay.
It was just
Being picked
teasing,
on? Okay.
picked on, boys will be boys, you know. So that's why in St. Martin I used the name Calvin. Calvin is not my name, it was just a home name, it's not my real
Okay.
name. And Gramey, people used to, when they're teasing you, they make fun of your name as well.
Yeah.
Gramey, you know, whatever. The teachers mostly called me Grammy because of the A in Dutch being A.
Uh-huh.
So they kind of, you know, they sound out the A, roll
Right.
the R,
Okay.
Grammy.
Uh-huh.
And
But
that
how do you pronounce your name? Is it
Grammy. It's a
with
British
an A?
name, so
Okay.
it's
Okay,
A as in the
Gramey.
alphabet,
Right,
Grammy.
okay.
So that was okay, but then kids, when they tease me, then they call you all these different things.
Yeah.
So I kind of hated my name,
Yeah.
right?
Especially the granny part. you know?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And then when you wear certain clothes, you're wearing granny clothes. So that, you know. But as a child, you don't know how to process certain things. And if
Right.
you don't have someone to talk to,
Yes.
and because my mom was so strict, it's almost like I had pressure on the outside and pressure at home. And so you bundle all of that up inside,
yeah.
and it amplifies. And yeah, at a certain point, every little thing sets you off. And then you become this, from the outside, you're disgruntled,
This rude little
you're
boy.
rude, disagreeable,
Yeah.
you know. But I always came alive when I talked to strangers because none of that applied, right?
True, you would be yourself.
Yeah, I could be myself, I
being
could
judged.
smile,
Yeah.
you know.
Or teased.
Yeah. And it was always welcoming. I could actually tell them who I am. Versus they already know who I am and they have their own opinion, and you know, now I was telling them who I am, and by the time their opinion came, I was already gone. I was no longer there. And I think that helped me to thrive a lot in the hotel industry because they were always strangers in front of me. And it was easy because now I could introduce myself and present myself.
Right.
So that was the contrast. But as a child, when you have all these teasing and you don't know what to do with it, you start to create a lot of resentment towards people, towards the environment you're in. And then you have the anger, animosity. Some of it is fear as well. You're afraid of how you're being perceived. You're not good enough. You're not the equal. And we go through that. And many of us don't get over it. Because society, there's always 1, 2, 3, a crowd that whatever you do, you know, now they're called haters. But there's always that side where there's always someone to tell you you are not good enough. And you internalize all of it. And in your teens, that's what it becomes. It becomes, you build this pressure and you become like a pressure cooker or a hand grenade. You're just waiting for someone to pull that pin to set everything off. And that happened to me.
Okay.
So.
Talk about one of your incidents a situation where you felt like it, and then but it's in the book. So,
it's in the book.
so let's
It's
talk-
in the
let's
book.
talk a little
I'm not
bit
gonna go
about
too much detail because
Yeah.
then I get too emotional. It was
Yeah.
very hard even for me to write it.
Yeah.
Because from the time it happened to the time I wrote it, I never relived it.
Okay.
So I wrote the story and I danced around the actual details.
Mhm.
And my editor said, if you don't write the details, you have to take the whole story out.
Exactly.
Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. Nobody actually knows what happened.
Okay.
They knows what happened around what happened, but not what happened.
Not exactly what happened.
And I actually ended up writing it, not sitting behind the computer, but in traffic, where I voiced it into my phone,
Okay.
voice
Yeah.
to text,
Right.
and it texted out. But because I was stuck in traffic, it kind of was easier, a lot easier.
Yeah.
And the year prior to writing this book, I didn't know I was going to write books at the time, but I went through some therapy session for about 3 months.
Okay.
Just some conflicts, some things that was conflict in my head,
Mhm.
And I grew older, and some of the sentiments from just reactions from different people, some of it from me overthinking, and I said, you know what? I need to talk to someone. I need to figure out, is it me? Is it them? Is it a combination of the two? And if it's me, then I need to understand what is it about me that does that? And how do I fix it? How do I address it? And I think, lucky for me, because I had that, the book became a lot easier in certain, in being able to tell certain stories.
Right.
But at 12 years old in 5th grade, I ended up taken from school, put in a police car, taken to the police station, and locked up in a cell. And that was
Yeah.
nowadays there are 12-year-olds who that has happened to 5-6 times, and it's okay for them. But when I was 12 years old, that was not normal.
One was enough.
It was not normal in the community,
Mm.
and it was not normal for me, And basically, you're there with all your thoughts, and your mind is racing, and you want to turn back the clock, but you can't. It already happened.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's about as far as I'm gonna go there.
Okay. Why did you leave station? And what age did you leave station?
By 16, I had another incident where I was worse than the first, and then I felt
It's time to go.
it's time to go. This environment, and by then, by 14, I had a mentor who was showing me and telling me everything else contrary to the environment that I was in. And so, in
That's your
listening
Uncle Bill,
to him,
right?
Uncle Bill, yeah, in listening to him and understanding him, and going through, we used to meet weekly,
How did you
almost-
meet him? Who was he? He was your mentor.
Yeah, he
But-
became my mentor, but I met him basically picking up shells on the
Bayside?
beach
Okay.
in Station.
You already didn't have a beach, do you?
We had a beach then. Now it's
okay.
partial beach, is very small, but it was longer.
Okay,
Nice,
okay.
beautiful black sand. It ran.
Exactly.
It ran from the corner on the big turn. I forgot what it's called, and it went all the way back to, I think, where they have a dive shop right now.
Okay.
And there was a couple pieces in between that was kind of the sea just came in a little bit more. But you had about maybe a 200 meter stretch.
Okay.
Yeah. And I would walk and pick up the shells, and the shells that had holes, I could string them up, make a chain, and sell them to tourists.
Oh.
So this one day.
You were always entrepreneurial,
Yes,
weren't you?
yes. And one day, this older white man was walking on the beach, and he's like, "Hi, how you doing?" And I tell the story of our first interaction. And so I met him, and he introduced himself as Uncle Bill.
Okay.
And then I said, "Do you want to buy one?" Because I saw if I met you, and I said in the book, if I met you and we said hello, I would try to sell you whatever it is I had for sale. I'm still that way.
You're a real hustler,
Yeah,
aren't you?
in writing that story, I realized I'm still that way. And it's not about the financials. It's just the transaction. You know, everyone was a potential customer, and if we interacted, what else did I have to say? I was 14 years old. There's not a lot to say. Do you want to buy a chain? You know? And so we started the conversation, and so from then, you know, he kind of, you know, took me on this ring. Hey, you can come by, and he introduced me
Like
to.
he lived there. He wasn't
He lived there.
visiting.
Yes.
He
No,
lived
he lived there.
What was his occupation?
He was retired. He
Oh,
was. We met up when I was 14, and he was 70 years old at the time.
Okay.
So he was retired, and he came to establish the Baha'i faith. So he was in St. Martin, and from St. Martin he came over to Statia, and he, you know, to establish Baha'i faith in Statia. And so, but I went by his house. Actually, he was going to show me how I could make my chains more efficiently.
Okay.
Because I made them big enough that you could pull it over your head.
Right.
And he said I could show you. He had an arts and crafts book, and you could buy clips that you could actually fasten the necklace in the back. So the material you use for one, you can make two.
Okay.
That's a 50%, 100% profit increase, you know. And he broke it down for me from a business sense. Like I said, I was 14 years old, and I'm learning about inventory and you know, to cut costs and you know. And it was like, okay. So I went by his house, and he's talking about how to drill holes in shells that didn't have holes.
Right.
And I tried with a drill. And then he showed, you know, he showed me the technique of how to do it. You have to drill them submerged in water, and they had to use a drill press, where you just bring the drill bit down onto the shell, you know. And so I had to buy a drill press, you know. So he showed me all of that. So that was my first investment, because I didn't have to invest for seashells. I walk on the beach, I pick up the shells. I went in my stepfather's tool room. I took his fishing cord for free, basically, and I just string them up, and you know.
For free.
For free.
It cost your stepfather a lot of money, and you thought because you found it there.
Yeah,
it's free.
exactly. So it cost me zero, so it was 100% profit, and now I could multiply that profit into another 100% profit.
Didn't your stepfather make you pay him back for his?
No.
You know, you took
He
him.
didn't want to.
Was he a fisherman?
Yes, he caught
Okay.
fish. He had fish pots.
Okay.
He had,
Okay.
you know, he had everything.
Okay. Okay. So you left at.
So yeah.
Let's
So
talk a bit
yeah.
about Uncle Bill.
So I left.
The influence he had on your life.
Right. So one time, the first time I went by him, or maybe the second time, but within the first few times, I reached late. So we had an appointment for 3:30, I think it was, and I showed up station time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for me, it was okay.
Yeah.
And he said, I was about 17 minutes late.
Okay.
And his wife, Auntie Marjorie, you know, she came out, and she would have a little five minutes so and so with me until he gets ready. She already knew what was gonna happen, but I didn't. And she's like, okay, baby, you can sit down, you know, da da da. And she made. She was so proud. I guess that was her deflection.
Mm-hmm.
She made lemonade that day. It was, she picked lime from outside, you know, Cousin Stacia, everyone grew a fruit, whether it was
exactly.
Banana, lime,
mango,
pigeon peas especially, okra, you know.
Yeah.
So she came with a lime, and she was so happy. She made lime, she made lemonade with her limes that she grew in the garden. But she sweetened it with white sugar, which was not something that we did locally.
Oh, okay.
We sweetened lemonade with brown sugar.
Brown sugar, yeah.
And so when I tasted it, it tasted kind of weird.
Okay.
And I didn't really know how to really say it properly. And she was like, you don't like it? It's like, no, it tastes funny. And I'm like, at home we use brown sugar, Later on, she switched, and then they would call it brown sugar lemonade. It's just lemonade. That was it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she kind of softened me up, and when Uncle Bill came out, he was like, so we have an appointment at 3 o'clock. I can't meet with you now because you're late. I was like, I'm not late, really.
Only
Station
15
time,
minutes.
this is normal.
I get here.
And he said, no, being late is a disrespect to the person who you're coming to see.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
he said, you need to wait for me, not I wait for you. Whatever you're doing, you need to be 15 minutes early.
Yeah.
And so I learned, okay, I can't do that with him. But I also got into the routine where I was never late. Because he's like, you're not late for school, you're not late for church. If you could be late, if you could be early for one thing,
for those things,
if you could be on time for one thing, you could be on time for everything.
Yeah.
And that was what stuck to me as one of the few things that I learned from him.
Nice. This was in the 70s. I know Uncle Bill has probably passed.
Yes, he had passed. So by the time I met him, we were talking early 80s. Yeah, and then, And then by 16 now, but by 15 actually, he told me about the 5-year plan. He said, you have to make a 5-year plan. You have to plan your life out for 5 years and then break it down 1 year at a time. So, and I did that. I still do, and then he was instrumental of me after my second incident of kind of getting my mind out of where it was and where it was leading.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the phrases that stuck with me, he says, 2 places with a lot of talent and unfulfilled dreams is prisons and cemeteries. But prison was avoidable.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a centerpiece for me. I do not ever want to be in jail again, much less go to prison.
Right.
And so for me now, with all of this, I felt the environment I was in, if only I could get out of here, I could start all over again and kind of avoid all of these pitfalls that I could possibly fall into. And when I came to St. Martin, it was based on his advice to come to St. Martin, because St. Martin, there were more tourists. I would have access to more tourists, and I could sell more seashell necklaces and earrings and bracelets, and and then the rest of the story, changed, but yeah.
Right. I know you learned a lot from Uncle Bill. What was the most important lesson that you say that you learned from him?
I would say chance favors the prepared.
Okay.
There's always opportunity, but if you're not prepared, you can't get them, you can't use them, you can't take advantage of them. And so I try to always be prepared. I would have plan A, plan B, plan C. And when I went to the Marines, I realized that's the norm. There's a functionality of plan A, plan B, plan C, then improvise. And so that I would say is there's a bunch of other stuff, but that was a big one for me. The other one was you go up with the term, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And he said to me, all your eggs are in one basket. That basket is you. Because no matter what you do, you could diversify as much as you want. Everything still comes back to you.
Smart.
And then the grass always seems greener on the other side. And he said, sometimes it is, but you need to figure out why. It's fertilized.
They work harder on the grass,
on taking care of it.
And then you do the same.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just well-cut weeds. Sometimes it's painted. And sometimes it's just fake. It's like weird. Yeah, it's just artificial grass. But until you know what it is, you can't assume anything. So those are things that I value a lot.
Yeah. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
He will definitely teach some of us good lessons today.
Yes.
How did you get over the bullying part? I want to talk to the youngsters out there.
Yes.
You know, how did you get over it? What can be done? You know, sometimes you go to higher authority like the principal or the school manager, they call it today. Other times, I know back in the day, I know that parents will go up to the child and they will talk to the other parents and things will calm down, you know. Doesn't always happen, you know, but there are certain ways that we can kind of avoid or work around or go around.
Definitely. By 16, and I say it in the book also, Uncle Bill said, you have to be careful, I have to be mindful of where I place myself. Because where you are, that environment where you are, is where everything happens. So if you know in certain environments around certain people, certain things happen, avoid it, right? If you have friends, if me and you are friends, and you like teasing other people and bullying other people, because we're friends, it's all okay now. But at one point when we're not friends, you're going to do the same to me. So he says, if your friend is, you know a person is not a decent person by the way they treat other people. Not the way they treat you, by the way they treat others.
Yeah.
Right? And if you see that, these are people to avoid. At a given moment too, you have to basically block out the noise, right? You try not to internalize it too much because it's not you. The problem is not you. The problem is the other person. They are the one that take pride or have fun or feel the need to put others down. And if someone is doing it to you, if you can avoid them in as much as you possibly can. Of course, there's also the last resorts where you report it to a teacher, you report it to an elder, you report it to your parents. But really make your best effort to not internalize it because it's not about you, it's about them. That's who they are, it's not who you are.
When we talk, you had your Uncle Bill. How important is it? Because we had the Scouts and we had other organizations that kind of taught us what our parents did not teach us. Where can we go today to find a mentor, you know, and to find someone? Because, well, you have people that will try to teach you, you know, about life, but if you're not receptive to it,
right.
And that's what is happening to a lot of our children, they're not receptive to it, they don't want to hear about it. But if they just pulled aside and listen you talk. So it's hard to get people to become mentors because they feel that it's going through one ear and coming down the next.
It's, you know, it's over time because Uncle Bill, I think it's also the state of mind of the person, where they are, who they are. Again, everything he was telling me within the environment I was in, I didn't hear it. So it's almost like you have online and you have reality. I had Stacia, environment, and I had a conversation with Uncle Bill. So, and from everything looking back now, there were three ways in communicating with especially youngsters. There was talking at them, where you're just saying what you gotta say and you walk away. Tough love. There was talking to them, where you're just constantly warning them and telling them about what they're doing wrong, what you don't like. And then there was talking with them. And I would say me and Uncle Bill had conversations. I'm stating plenty of the things that he said, I spoke to. But the things that he was telling me was the teaching, and me learning, you know. And so at a given moment too, I was in an environment where I felt I almost outgrew the environment I was in at the time, and therefore I also wanted out. Because I couldn't apply a lot of the things that he was telling me within that environment because the environment was not there. And that's why when I came to St. Martin, everything was so much easier because...
But you remembered them.
And I remember them because it was ingrained in me already, you know. I was very receptive of it. So when it comes to mentorship, it's just the mentor taking the time and being persistent with that person who you really want to make an impact on. And yes, it can be problematic sometimes. It's not going to be always easy, but it's if you really have the time, you want to make the time, and the child will show up because it takes two. The child also have to show up. at some point a lot get takes, because if Uncle Bill knew a lot took by the time I went back and he could see my growth, if he only could see me now,
Yeah.
he would know I still live based on a lot of the teachings that he gave me.
Exactly.
I still do the 5-year plan, and the end of this year is going to be the end of my current 5-year plan, and I'm already crafting my next 5-year plan. I'm only 1 year into the next one crafted,
Right.
but I have a little outlook on the other 4 years. I still do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
When we look at our children today, not all, it would be unfair for me to say all,
Yeah.
but when you see many children today and you talk to them, some of them may say, I'm bored, I have anything to do.
Yeah.
How can our youth become more productive and more entrepreneurial,
Activities. Over the years, I've learned a few things that really gets a child centered. It also helps them academically. Music, sports, the arts. Because there is no opinion on music. You're either playing it right or you're playing it wrong. When it comes to sports, you're either playing the game right, there is a coach, there is a referee who's going to call it, or you're doing it wrong. If you're dancing, any kind of arts program, you can be creative, but it's also to a certain extent. And in every step of the way, there are people around you that says wrong or right. And it's not an opinion base. So the more your child gets occupied into these activities, it's the more they're distracted from the things that are unsavory or you don't want them to be in. And especially if they love any one of them, because that becomes so passionate, that becomes more of their focus. And it's a huge distraction from all of the negative and the other things that you basically don't want them to be in.
You have a chapter in your book, Learning the Business of Life, and it's about the cleaning the yard.
Cleaning the yard. Chores is another big thing. So I had chores. All school, you had chores. You have to wash the dishes, you have to take out in station, you have to take out the animals.
Oh, okay, yes,
yes. So you woke up in the morning, you took the animals out, you came back, you brushed your teeth, you had breakfast, took a shower, went to school.
Okay.
In the afternoon, it was kind of in reverse. You came home, you did your homework. Before the sun go down, you bring the animals back in, and then you close them off, and then you showered and you watch a little TV and you go to sleep. Chores is a very good thing because it's teaching the child responsibilities. It's teaching them almost like they would have when they have a job when they grow up. You need to do it.
Yes.
You get an assignment. You need to do it properly.
Right.
Your mom is going to check to make sure it was done properly. And if it was not, you have to do it over. These are life. The chores as a child is life chores you're going to have for you for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Okay. The altar boy.
Yes, I was an altar boy in 2 churches. Yeah, and sometimes I was a little bit of a naughty altar boy. So there's my cousin Dwayne in Stacia. He's hoofd I can't know. I guess that's the chief, that's deputy chief of police, something like that. And he reminds me every time he see me, he's like, "Did you put the story in the book how we used to drink the wine and eat the bread?" So I was a good altar boy on the altar.
Yeah.
And after the altar,
you were a bad boy.
I was a little bad altar boy.
Was it real wine?
Yes, it was real wine.
Okay, no, because in the Methodist church we use grape juice.
Oh, this was I think it probably was a watered down because we didn't get drunk.
Okay.
But this was a Catholic church.
Right.
In the Anglican church, the opportunity wasn't there. But in the Catholic church it was, because we had to turn around and then clean up the altar. So everyone would be gone, and it was just the altar boys. Like,
glasses after that.
yeah, and then we were just,
Talk to us about the transition. And then we want to talk a little bit about peer pressure and why.
The transition from Stacia to St. Martin. So yes, when I came to St. Martin, I was blown away because In Station, most of the business owners were locals. I mean, they look like me.
Yeah.
But I didn't view the opportunity there as much as I saw it when I came to St. Martin. I guess in Station you grew up and there was just Duggan Supermarket, there was Pacer Supermarket, there was Dunkirk Supermarket, there was One Chinese, there was Skell at Super Burgers, which was my first job actually after school. And whenever I go back, I go back there. I just have to see it. Yeah. I go in, me and him have a sit down, we talk, we're still cool nice. Like that, yeah. But when I came to St. Martin was like, wow, there was
ample opportunity.
Everything in Station was multiplied by like 100 in my mind. And I know Skell, he worked at Wisdom and he used to flip burgers.
That's right.
And then he came back and opened his own so-called Wisdom, but it was
Super
Super Burgers.
Cheeseburgers.
Oh yeah. And so I saw all of that. There was Wisdom Car Rental. He had this, he had that, the hot holidays, and I think the newsstand, the paper garden, something like that.
Right. Yes.
And so I saw all of that, and I was just basically like, I could actually find my way here. I could make it here. With all the dreams and ambitions and everything I had in my head, St. Martin was going to be that place for me.
Okay. Talk to us a bit for our youth out there dealing with peer pressure.
Again, it's blocking out the noise. Finding the stuff that you love. Finding the stuff. Uncle Bill said we succeed in the things that we love to do and the thing that we are good at. These are the combination that we're going to pursue. We don't realize it, but those are the two things we actually pursue. Anything you like and love or anything you're good at. Find those two things and focus on them. And one of the 5 ways, the 5 different ways you could succeed or you increase your chances to succeed is basically, he told me, is going out and learning to do as many different things. But between the one I love the most and do best, put them together. And that's what you have. Whatever your kids is gravitating to or share with you that they love to do or they want to be, it's good to ask kids as early as you can, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yes.
Right? And I'm doing a program now with schools. I did the first one with a kindergarten class, when I grow up. Because, and when you ask a child that, just look at that child and you see their eyes move away from you and it's like they're looking into the future. Their mind starts thinking, what do I want to be? And whatever it is they want to be, it's going to change, but they're thinking. And those are the passions that's going to distract them from the things you don't want them. And if you can help them hone that dream, if they want to be a police officer, get them around a police officer so they can have a conversation with them.
Support.
And give that support, the ambition and the dreams. Because my daughter wanted to be a teacher from 2nd grade. Because her teacher was basically the only black teacher in the school. And she wanted to be that, and she ended up becoming that. Even though she had a few twists and turns in between. When she went to college, she studied education, So these are the things that parents have to do with their children. Find out what it is they want to do, try to get them in those environments so they can see what it's like and how it functions and talk to the people who are already doing it. Because the more they have a dream and a drive to become whatever it is they want to become, the less distractions or the less peer pressure and everything is going to affect them. And so you're basically helping them to increase their opportunities to become what they want to become.
But not all children have that get up and go, have that motivation.
Some are late, and some are slow. So each one gonna have it in their own time. But kids love something, and whatever that thing is, especially if it's positive, you have to nurture it with them. You have to support them with it. If you can, do it with them. Whether it's a sport, music, like I said, the arts,
Right. So you left Stacia, you're over on St. Martin, and what was your first job here?
My first job here, I did carpentry. So Pelican was actually booming at that time. And I went down there and I saw what they were doing. Like the foremen will come out and say, I need a carpenter, I need a mason, and it was just like probably 15, depending on the day. And because the whole jewelry stuff, selling, I went to Front Street a few times. I mean, I probably saw like maybe 5 or 6 necklaces. The tourists that were here were looking for real jewelry,
Right.
gold and silver and tablecloths and whatever. And so when I went to Pelican, I was just exploring and I saw that. I was like, okay, what was the easiest thing for me to do? Carpentry seemed a lot easier than masonry.
But did you have that skill?
Yes, because I went to a trade
okay.
school. I did 2 years in trade school in Stacia.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that, I had the skill. Now, I wasn't a professional carpenter, but I could be a good carpenter helper, And so when he said he wanted a carpenter, I said, yeah, me.
Yeah.
And then, but the day before when I saw that, I went to Phillipsburg, Italy, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I bought the tools. I bought a square, I bought a hammer, I bought a tape, I got my pencil. And so the next day when I came, it was Chance Favors prepared. I was prepared. So when he said carpenter, I said, yeah, me. And he hired me. He was a South African guy. And his name was Arnold. I don't remember the last name. And so I went to work with him, and that was my first job in St. Martin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And your last job before you left?
My last job before I left, when, in the year and a half? Or
No.
As a grown-up, I sold my business, Cellular One.
Yeah.
And then I left. I got married. Well, I got a child first. I got married. We migrated to the U.S. My new wife, she wanted to go back to school. So I said, hey, you know what? I'm going to take some years off. Basically retired at 29. And I took 4 years off, raising my daughter while she went to school. And I did all the husband stuff.
Okay,
wash,
there you
cook,
go.
laundry, whatever.
Yeah.
And when my daughter started to go to school, pre-K, I got bored and then I went back to work, opened a new business, and started all over again.
And what are you into now?
Now I'm retired again. I retired 3 years ago.
You keep retiring.
And so I still have a few interests here and there, but I'm not playing a major role in it anymore. Mm-hmm. The employees basically take care of their own jobs, and my last 2 employees now, one is going to basically take over this business operation that we're busy with, and the other one is basically branching out on his own and basically going to be a contractor for me, doing the same job but now on his own in his own business. So I'm always encouraging and supporting to cultivate. Some people say if you train your employees too well, they're going to leave you. And I say if you're a good leader, they will. Because you train them well, they're gonna have the drive and they're gonna want to go on. It's part of my responsibility to help them nurture that and support them, and even contract them to do what they were doing for me, but on their own, in their own business. So that's what I do.
What is your final message to the youth out there?
The business of life. I say the only limits in business and life is your imagination and determination to succeed. You have to see yourself in the future. Whatever it is, it's yours. It's your future. You have more years ahead of you than you have behind of you. Make the best of those years. Dream big. Work towards it. Right? Know where you want to be 20 years from now, 30 years from now, and devise a plan of how to get there year by year by year by year by year. Create a 5-year plan, break it down 1 year at a time, break that 1 year down 1 month at a time, break it down a week at a time, break it down a day at a time. But you know where you want to go, find that path to get there.
Thank you. Thank you. Enjoy this.